A few years ago, we bought this 1980 O'Day 25. It came with a Shorelander trailer. It has surge brakes on the front axle, and we don't tow it very far. We tow it about 21 miles in the spring to take it down to the marina. We leave it at a dock, and then we bring it home in the fall. And the rest of the time, it just sits on that trailer, and we close it up and put a tarp on it for the winter. Because we don't tow this boat very far, I haven't paid any attention to the axles or the brakes as far as bearings go. I have pumped a little bit of grease into the buddy bearings before I tow it. Otherwise, I've just basically ignored that. So I was able to retire, and now I have a little bit more time. So I decided that I better take a look at this trailer. And obviously, the rear seals on the second axle are gone. Um, and I decided to go ahead and just install all new brake assemblies and all new fluid and new seals and grease and inspect bearings. And if the bearings look good, then I'll keep using them. The surge brake system is made by Titan. It's Titan 6 is the model number, and it's a very simple system. It has a like a brake master cylinder with a push rod up front, so when you push against it, it uh, compresses brake fluid into the lines going back and pressing out on the brake wheel cylinders at each hub. The brake master cylinder fluid is really crappy. I sucked it all out of there with a like a squeeze bulb and refilled it and worked it back and forth, and then pulled that out again, and then refilled it and exercised it some more. And I went through that process over and over again to basically clean all of the old garbage out of the brake master cylinder until I could see that it was clean and all of the garbage was gone. So at the wheel hub, I removed the wheel and then removed the brake hub, and I could see that the brake assembly was pretty rusty. The shoes were cracked, and I wasn't going to try to save any of that. It was pretty much unsavable. So I found a replacement on the internet, pretty cheap. I can get both assemblies for $138, complete assemblies ready to bolt on and be used. When I got to the last wheel, I decided that I probably should make a video because it's information that might be useful for somebody else. So this is why I'm making this video now. So I decided I better replace the seals on my hubs because the grease was coming out of the back. And so I thought, well, this is the last one. I'll go ahead and shoot a short video just in case anybody else needs to do this. So I got these bearing buddies on here, and basically what you do is you just tap it on the sides, and you kind of go in this direction, pushing out a little bit as you tap it, and they will come out like this. There's a grease nipple on that side. This side I've cleaned out most of the old grease. And so what you have then is you've got a cotter pin which holds a nut retainer that stops the nut from backing out. So you pull the cotter pin out, and then this is the retainer that doesn't allow the nut to rotate or back off. And of course this is going to be full of old grease, so you got to clean that out. I've already done it. And you just unscrew this, and as you do so, you know, this hub is sliding off because it's slightly downhill. And you just put all these parts somewhere where they're safe and you're not going to lose them. And then if you just pull gently a little bit like this, see that washer on the end pops off, and the bearing popped off because there's no grease in there. Basically, this washer fits in that groove and pushes against the bearing when you install it, and that's what you use to tighten it down. I got a little bit of grease on there. I mostly cleaned it off to it so I could inspect it. The bearing looks pretty good. And then once you do that, you can take this hub and just remove it like so. And I've cleaned the grease out of this too. I've used paper towel and dug all the old grease out with like a large flat blade screwdriver, and then used a paper towel to mostly just get the rest of it. I don't like to use degreaser inside these things. That's just what I don't like to put any kind of a solvent in there. So then you've got the old bearing in the back, and it just slides off like this. And behind that old bearing, you'll see a seal. Let me see if I can dig it out. Here it is. This old seal slides on the back of the hub. It goes into the hub. You got to hammer it in there, but this is the one that popped out, and it is garbage. So I'll show you the back of the hub. Let me pause this for a sec. Yeah, so here's the back of the hub, and the bearing fits inside the bearing race like this. And then when you get a new seal, which I still have to get mine, basically you just put it on. First of all, you pack it all full of fresh grease. Inside of there, you pack the bearing full of fresh grease. I use the grease in the palm method and just really work it in and pack it. And then I put grease all in here, and I pack it in here, and I basically get this thing full of grease. And then I lay this like this, and I take a little block of wood and I try to evenly apply pressure on it using my rubber mallet, and just tap it in, and it'll sit flush with this surface when it's in there. So now you've got your bearing is clean, it's got all new grease, and you've got the new seal in there, and you've checked this and cleaned it all up, and it looks good, and then you just slide everything back together the way it came apart. So I've got the hub back on there. I'm going to put this bearing back in just to show you the reassembly. It goes like that, and then you've got this like pressure plate, right? It goes in on top of that, and then you screw the nut in like this, and then you want to make that nut tight, so you can put a wrench on it and really snug it down. And this is, of course, is after you've cleaned and inspected, made sure it's okay, and re-greased this bearing on this side as well. And you tighten it down with a wrench. I still have to clean these threads, and you get it really tight. And then you back it. You back it off until you're ready to do the final snug, which is you just make it hand tight, like hand tight, right? Not using a tool. And then you just put this retainer back on there, line the holes up. See how the hole lines up for a cotter pin there? And put the cotter pin in, just bend the long end. Good to use a new cotter pin. Yeah. Fill this full of grease, marine grease. Tap it back in there all the way, and then fill it back up full of grease. And when it's full, this spring will start to compress the grease inside the hub, and as it does so, this part here will actually begin to extend out. And I bring it out, I don't know, 5 millimeters or so. I don't bring it out all the way. But what it's doing is it's compressing that grease inside. And so when you back this down in the water, there's like a positive pressure inside the whole hub pushing back. It keeps the water out. Okay, I think that's it.